Hello, everyone. This is Steph, the Educator. You have joined Essential Pedagogy Podcast, and I just want to welcome you today. I talk to myself a lot. I'm trying to be positive about all this, but it's giving me practice, and I am very, very grateful for practicing speaking in front of a camera, looking at a camera, because boy, oh boy. As some of you guys know, I started this podcast with the intention to bridging the gap between parents or outsiders of education and insiders of education to have a better understanding. I have a 22-year record in teaching, and I decided to go to grad school last spring. I got a wild hair, and I thought, I think I've been called to lead teachers. And so I put in the application, and they accepted me, and here I am. I'm in grad school. Now, with my degree that I'm pursuing, and I'm aspiring to be this leader, when I started this program, I had no intentions on being a principal. What I wanted to do and what I professed before entering this grad journey is that principals don't have time to actually mentor and coach teachers. In fact, you rarely see your principal in class. So while I teach middle school, and that's secondary in America, secondary school, they have multiple principals. They may have 2 or 3 assistant principals, and then they have a head principal of the school, and that principal has monthly reports, weekly reports, meetings galore, communications, professional development, all of these things a principal is responsible for, and facilities, making sure that everybody has safe facilities for them to, eat in a safe place, use the restroom in a safe place, have clean and safe environment to walk around and in the halls, managing all the staff that reports to that building. So big responsibility, to where like a new teacher would probably feel lost and unseen in a situation where they're starting a new school and they just graduated from with their bachelor's with the bachelor's of science in teaching. I had the opportunity to mentor and coach a teacher that alongside with what I was teaching as far as the topic and context that I was teaching in, it was very enlightening and I enjoyed it. And that's what prompted me to get into this program. So I was adamant. I was like, I'm not going to be a principal. I don't really have the temperament for it anyway, because I tend to wag my head sometimes when I get a little frustrated with people. I tend to have very clever clapbacks when I'm really tired of like speaking with somebody. um, about the same thing over and over again. So I felt like I did not have the demeanor. Never do I cuss a person. Never do I am I petty. I will say that. But I will be direct because I don't have time to waste. And so while I looked at those attributes as not very principally, because I feel like you have to be kind of the Obama type and diplomatic and I'm going to see your side and my side. Well, if the law say this and and I'm working within the law and I have systems that's going to be the best interest of my kids, sometimes requests from people who really want to be heard, the answer is going to be no. And I'm going to leave it as a very hard and short no. And so I found that I always judge that as a type of personality that wouldn't be a good principal. But then everybody I'm in contact says that I would be a good principal. I don't know why they say this, but they do. Yesterday I got information about um, more about my schedule for the fall. I'm going to be a full-time student and a full-time teacher and educator and leader. And I actually spent a great deal kind of having a little anxiety, then crying and upset a little bit about it because I am going to take 2 classes, one on Tuesdays and one on Thursdays after work. And I have another class, which is a practicum. And with that practicum, I have 6 visits from my practicum instructor, and I have reports to make with the practicum instructor. And all these reports are related to taking the principal certification exam. Now, mind you, when I started this program, I said I wasn't going to take this exam. I said I wasn't going to take this exam at all. I was just going to go and get the degree, educational leadership, and not take any of the exams because there's a 2-part exam for principals in the state of Texas. There is a practicum type exam, and then there is a multiple choice type exam where you answer questions and scenarios and blah, blah, blah. So I found out that there's so much reporting and so much accountability that is aligned with these tests that it would not make sense for me not to take the test. If I'm compiling a binder of some way of tracking all my learning and all of the data that I'm collecting for my initiative of study, then it wouldn't make sense not to take the test. So I was kind of sad about that because I'm like, I didn't even want to waste energy on that because that's not what I wanted to do. So now I'm going to take these tests, and we'll see what happens. We'll just see. We'll see what happens. I'm learning a lot. I'm working with a lot of different people. Right now, our summer schedule is Monday through Thursday from 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 a.m. One break in the morning for 15 to 20 minutes and one break in the afternoon for 15 to 20 minutes. And then there's an hour lunch in the same rooms with the same people. My cohort is about 18 to 20 people, depending on who's enrolled in what class. I have a morning class and then we have an afternoon class. And sometimes we may have students that were in a previous cohort that is joining us for a particular class, or any random SMU student who decides to take some type of leadership grad course for education that may be in a different graduate program. So, this is working my nerves. um, and I understand the rationale with the instructors. They are choosing to put us all into different groups, different type of groupings. The professors are mostly choosing our group members. None of us knew one another before this program. We've been in this program 5 weeks. So 6 weeks ago, we didn't know each other. Now, all of a sudden, we're been thrust in the same room for 7.5 hours all day. Not like you go to your office and I go to my office, or I go to my classroom, you go to your classroom. Not like that. Mm-mm-mm. All day, every day. So imagine being in a room where someone is a nitpicker on everybody. We start to roll our eyes at certain comments after a while. First it's cute. Oh my God. Yeah. Then we start rolling our eyes. And you really start to see what leadership qualities what leadership strengths you're going to have, or what leadership qualities that you need to improve on. And I never thought of myself as a shy person until, not even a shy person. I never thought of myself as a person that is intimidated by public speaking. You would think, since I'm doing this podcast, I don't mind public speaking, but I am not as eloquent as I'd like to be. That's something I need to work on. And I need to work on my professional writing. So, when it's one-on-one in class, I'm fine. But when it's time to present in front of the class, like findings, then with peers or adults, it's a little different than the students. Like, I've been doing that for many years, but it's tougher to do in front of peers who are educated and probably scrutinizing everything that's coming out of your mouth. So, with that being said, we do a lot of studying, a lot of practicing. They put us in situations where we have to be diplomatic, in times when we don't want to, because we have group projects. And with these group projects, our grade is attached to this. So we can't really just pop off, except for this week. I think that 5th week, it's been very challenging for us. 4th and 5th week has been very challenging for us as a cohort to get along and get and I think we're so tired that the Mr. Nice and Miss Nice guy faces have come off, and now we're just tired. Let's just get this done. I really don't care about how you feel right now. I don't care how you feel about what I'm saying right now. It is something. And I didn't see this coming. I thought we were just going to be a very, 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 and I think we are eventually going to be so tight knit that we would be willing to take off of work and go see about the other person. But right now, it is very tough. Very tough. Yeah. But neither here nor there. That's how grad school is going. What I've learned is so many things that it just made me take pause about how we approach education, how education has been going, and how we as educators, we hear the alarms, but this world is changing so fast that sometimes it's hard to articulate that we need parents just as much. Oh, that's a good question. I want to answer this question before I go into the detail of this other thing. So this question is, does everybody have the same career path? Okay, so our entire cohort, and it's a blended cohort, because normally the cohorts are on the same, they're all taking the same classes at the same time. Well, in case you didn't notice, not a lot of people are going to school for education anymore. Some, okay, the field of education hasn't completely collapsed, haven't completely collapsed, and I don't see that happening anytime soon, actually, at all. A lot of people ask, will AI take your job? And today, I know that it will not. It will never take the place of a teacher effectively. Ever, 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 ever. Nope. And that's because we need one another in order to synthesize and develop compassion for one another. And without us working with one another, we can't effectively not even do a system information job, a computer programmer, engineer type job. If you are not interacting with people, you're not even effectively you can't even effectively do your job in technology. And this is why we need each other, and that's how God developed us. That's what it comes down to, right? And there's so many psychological things we learn more effectively with and through others, not through a machine. In the state of Texas, they passed the law where children can't bring their own devices to school during the school day. It's not allowed in school. That means your Apple Watch. Well, this is not the Apple Watch. This is something else. The Apple Watch, your personal Apple computer, your personal Chromebook. Those are not allowed. It's whatever the school issues to you that you can have. Now, that's a new policy that just passed, and there are a lot of districts that are starting to come up with their systems and policies, individual policies, and how that is going to affect education. Now, some people are saying, oh my gosh, I need to get in touch with my child in case there's an emergency. And I feel like those are cop-outs for just wanting your way or wanting your way with your child. Or you have a perception that this world is more dangerous or that you have more control over what is going to happen during a perceived emergency, right? So there are parents that approach me and say, well, I have that person have their phone during the school day, and I take it up at home because she's on punishment, because I need her to have it during the school day in case something happens. Like what? Like what happened? Is that phone going to make you be in the child's presence in case of a school violent situation instantly. It's not going to teleport you to the school so that you can physically shield your child. It is not. It has never operated that way. It only creates a environment of chaos, even if you can get through to the child. Or it can alert while we're in shelter in place for whatever violent person that's going through the school creating chaos could possibly hear a phone or someone talking on the phone and then decide to shoot in that direction or whatever, or you know what I mean, like, so um those aren't things that is going to keep your child safe. And I've never heard, my mother has never called me at school because I didn't have cell phones, but I just can't imagine my mom calling me because my mom is distraught about a family member passing away, and she feels like it is necessary to call me as a child during the school day to tell me that someone has passed away. Um, and I'm at school trying to learn English and math and science and social studies and learning to think critically. I just don't understand why a parent would do that. Come on up to the school, check them out, and you can tell them at home. But I don't understand why you would send a text or do a phone call. And this has actually happened in school. So um, we are not all on the same path of course taking in this cohort. So some people are 2 year. Some people have decided that, hey, I have my master's in something else. And so now all I need is the cert, the certificate to the principal certificate, which is all the prep that it takes and all the courses that leads up to taking the test, the practicum course, and some of the other ancillary courses like law, and that would make you a competent principal in the future. So some people are just taking what they need for the certification. Others of us are on a 1 year trajectory. Another group of us, they work for DISD. They're on a 2 year path where they are just taking the courses that are dealing with uh, like the law. There's other courses that they have for us, but not the practicum. They won't take their practicums until the following year. So that pushes out their taking tests until later on. So they'll push out their practicum. So we're kind of divided in that sense, but we're together in most of the classes. Like next semester, I'll have one class with the entire group, and then the other class will only be with the people who are on the 1 year journey. So anyhow, that's how the breakdown of that is. And today we had, or actually all week, we've been having lively discussions about AI and how it's used in the classroom, and how we feel like that we need parents, we need people from the outside world in order to understand more about what the needs are in our society on a higher level, not necessarily trying to equip our children to um, having low thinking jobs, but having higher creating innovative type titles. And so sometimes a job is connected to these titles and sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's an entrepreneurial thing. Um, it is predicted that in about 50 years, essentially, someone could own a company and they will be the sole owner and human worker, and they would have AI doing the rest of the job. Everything else will be done through AI. Um, that's hard to imagine that there won't be any go between individuals, but they're predicting that in 50 years. And we, as educators, are challenged with preparing our students for that type of environment, or that being that kind of thinker, and not the kind of thinker that is aspiring to just get a good job, because good jobs are I'm not going to even talk about what our president is calling some of these jobs. But anyhow, um, I am learning a lot. I'm learning a great deal about how to to be sophisticated with prompts and putting things in AI to develop lessons, and to not just develop lessons, but to um, mature current lessons into something that could be individually gratifying. Um, and also, I'm learning from mistakes of some of our professors. I'm learning that we cannot forget that we have different modes of learning as far as the people who are learning from us. All of our instructions can't be verbal. All of our instructions just can't be written. We have some people who are more auditory learners. We have some people who like to read, and not just like, but definitely will not understand from what you're saying, but will understand the written word, the typed word, whatever, but it has to be in a written form. And I find that I am one of those people, because sometimes my brain is receiving a verbal message differently than what the intent is supposed to be. And that is not unusual, especially when we're talking about some of our multilingual students. You know, you may say something. One example that I'm very careful about not using in my classroom is saying, Sally, will you go cut the light off over there so that we can watch this video? Never say cut the light off. Because if you have someone who's multilingual and you gave them the instructions to cut the light off, they just might bring some scissors over to the light switch to try to cut. So you have to be very, very cognizant of how we're giving our verbal instructions, and also put things in writing. And even when you do that, just double check, like, hey, can you tell me what you think? Like what you think the assignment is about. And I usually check for understanding when a child is looking as if they are wondering. Sometimes if they have questions, then I will have a question for them. And I frustrate students sometimes. Instead of answering a question, because I feel like we have to develop thinkers, I don't answer a lot of questions. I answer with a question to help them think through their problem. So they'll say, I don't understand this. Can you explain this to me? Again, and I'm going to say, can you please tell me what you understand? What do you know? And they're like, I don't understand anything. And I'm like, do you use a pencil for this assignment? Yeah. I think you want me to write something out. Okay. What else do you understand? I think you want us to, right? And so that helps them think through problem solving, instead of saying, well, I just told you that we need to do this, 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 and this. And so I feel like that once we develop more of an inquiry type of way, style of teaching, that we can help develop having students put in prompts that is going to help them be more successful in using AI, instead of saying, hey, write a summary to Hamlet, right? I need a 2-page summary of the play Hamlet, right? Instead of writing that, or instead of me saying, I want you to write a summary that you just put in AI, I will say to you, hey, I want you to reimagine Hamlet as it relates to our science class, right? And I want you to reimagine some of the elements of the play. These are the elements I want you to focus on. Then from that information, I want you to devise a theory about how his wife was poisoned. You know what I mean? Like, just something that will not be a simple AI prompt for them to put in and get this, like, and that they don't even have the vocabulary to write an essay of that caliber. So just know, parents in society, there are people in education that hear you and your frustration about how your kids cannot think out of a box. We hear you, but we also need your help. We need your help in helping to get the foundations and practice foundations, because we want to grow your students, and we're going to be teaching at a high. And I'm going to be leading educators into teaching at a high level. And it's not going to be fun all the time, because your child may come home a little frustrated because they may not be used to the types of strategies that will be used in the up and coming years as education catches up with some of the innovation that we are seeing, that computers are forcing our hands in a certain direction, right? We're going to have to develop human beings that can tell the difference between the real Oprah Winfrey talking and when there's an AI Oprah Winfrey is talking, right? A lot of things are going to be happening in the coming years, and people are going to have to be equipped with knowing what's real and knowing what's not. I had a conversation with my sister, who just was adamant that President Trump was a believer, that he was a believer enough to mention the word, who he believed in, whether he believed in Jesus. And I was like, do you believe that? Like, I heard it. Where did you hear that? On TikTok? You think that's a credible source? People are being deceived, and we're going to have to develop critical thinkers. And that's just what we're going to do. I was going to go over a list with you about some of the things that is needed in order to develop these kind of thinkers, but we're running out of time, and I'm so sorry. But well, yeah, he didn't put his hand on the Bible to swear in the office that he's in. He didn't. And he may say, every time he talks about evangelicals. He talks about those evangelicals support me, and they have great faith in their God. Now I've heard him say that. I've heard him say that. They have great faith in their God, because I don't believe he's a believer. Yeah, he doesn't. He doesn't believe. Anyway, just know that we're going to do all we can to give comprehensive education, offer and facilitate comprehensive education that help with developing our children for our future. We want them to be successful. I want us to be successful. I don't want us to be deceived. I want us to be able to think critically and not only have common sense, but have the sense to believe that we can be creators and believe that we are not, I said it earlier today. Oh my gosh. Imposters, right? And I feel like that when we develop children who have a habit of being successful because they cheat through different mechanisms, then we develop children and grown-ups with imposter syndrome. And so imposter syndrome means that they feel like they've been impostoring a student or an intelligent person or a person that is capable of handling a certain task, and they really can't handle it. They find that they graduate and they can't read. They find that they feel like they were prepared for a certain skill set in a certain job, and they can't do it. And it's because they have maliciously used AI, not for learning purposes, but for shortcut services. And we have to develop ways that you can still use technology, but use them for higher order thinking. And so that's what we are working on. And just know that, the alarm has been sounding for so many years, and we're just going to do the best that we can with all the money that Texas won't give. We already know about the funding. So until next time, this is Steph, the educator. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to go to YouTube, and I want you to find Essential Pedagogy on YouTube and subscribe and click the notification bell. And I wish I was fancy enough. I'm going to learn some of this technology so I can say, see that bell over there? Please hit that bell. But I haven't figured out how to do that. And I've had so many things on my plate lately. I have to be deliberate in learning how to get all that taken care of. But for now, I know you can find a subscribe button and a notification bell, because you guys have been doing it for so long. I know you can do it. So anyhow, I'm Steph, the educator. Until next time, I'll see you later. Yeah.